I would like to start my talk by reading a poem by Barry Oliver called The Journey, since it is quite related to the topic I would share today. The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the oak tug at your ankles. Man, my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundation. Though their melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds. There was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. This poem captures the journey and transition that I've also been through. I started my acting career being in front of camera when I was 2. While some people might see it as a child labor, I sincerely see it as a playground. My mom told me that when other kids immediately cried when they were placed in front of camera with big lights, I looked straight at the camera and then started posing. The rest is history. I accidentally ventured into the world of acting and ended up falling in love with the profession as an actress. I have no idea where these performing arts skills came from since my family has zero experience in the entertainment industry. But the magic of being someone else and entering a world different from my reality always amazed me. I really enjoy being someone else, and the realization becomes bolder as I grow up because I face no real consequences. For example, in some films I act in, Mencuri Radyat Saleh, I could be a bad old money girl doing illegal poker without being arrested. In Dua Garis Biru, I could be a big sister to a troubled teenager. Again, zero real drama, and so on. I'm also forever grateful for my parents and adults around me whose guidance makes me understand that even though I was on TV for so long, I am no different from any other kid. People may know me, but I was not treated differently. Fortunately, I also quite excel in academics since I was little because of the support of them. Being in the industry also taught me perspectives about life through characters, took me to places, gave me so many opportunities, and allowed me to meet new people. So being empathetic is a skill I learned quite early. Besides skill, I also believe luck plays a big role in my career. Being trusted in the industry for almost 25 years is something I should not take for granted. Plus, it's sort of helped me avoid quarter-life crisis because I already knew that what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. That is why people say I'm so lucky, and I totally agree. But then, those years also slowly create an idea where I believe that being an actress is my whole identity. And it was confusing because not all projects will be yours. The character will choose who's going to portray them. And as someone who saw herself only as an actress, it kind of stressed me out. Am I only competent in acting? If there's no more acting projects, then who am I? So there was an eternal conflict between my comfort zone, where I was quite mastering acting skills, and the unknown part, which is also important for my growth. And while I know I was trusted in the industry to play in movies, there's a need to be in a learning process again. From what I learned in psychology, learning new things is good for your brain as it creates new neurons, new connections between neurons, and help build resilience and creativity when facing challenges. Another reason I was thinking about this is because I realized the danger of single identity perspective. I knew that how people perceive me was beyond my control, but the way I saw myself back at that time was too narrow. And I think this is unhealthy since I believe humans are multidimensional, which could not be defined by only one aspect, and we should be aware of that. I always had this deep wish to continue my studies because I really like being in the classroom settings. But back then, I was still not sure of what I wanted. There were also noises where people said that you should stay in the industry while being relevant. However, I have always been fascinated by media psychology since my bachelor thesis is also related to it. So I decided to seek a master program and took entertainment communication for a 1-year study. I thought the unknown and uncomfortable journey would start at school. Turns out it was way earlier than that. So many things I had never done in my life before. Write 3 essays in English, creating a timeline for scholarship, doing an IELTS class in the middle of commercial shooting, searching for housing in Amsterdam, and doing a matriculation test. Think of it as a gatekeeper test to ensure that we can handle Dutch academic standards. The test is necessary before I officially enroll for the master's program. 5 days after I took the test, I flew to Amsterdam, went to the campus, only to find out that I failed the test, which made me unable to start that program that month. There's a canal over there. There's a red circle. I sat and cried there for the rest of the day because I should go back home. I craved the prize since the very beginning of my year journey, and it was the first of many moments that made me so scared as a beginner. It took months for me to actually accept that I failed at the first attempt and be brave enough to prepare for matriculation retake. Fast forward, after the unplanned intake change, I passed the second test and went back to Amsterdam by myself just a week before school started. To be honest with you, I have never lived by myself. I took a bachelor program in UI, but I was not even allowed to live in Kos at Depok, so to live around 11,000 kilometers far away from home without anyone to join me in an unfamiliar city with different language and culture, it makes me quite nervous. But at the same time, there's a feeling of certainty that I knew I should seek myself other than this familiar entertainment industry. Like, this is my main character moment. I used to be a main character in some fictions, but now this is the real deal. So yeah, the first day at school, I realized the tendency to be inferior, especially when you were the only Southeast Asian girl in the class. It will be easier to think that someone else should know better than me, while in fact they were as clueless as I was. I was overwhelmed with the task where I had to do several essays every week in a language I did not primarily use. So there were lots of cries in the middle of doing the assignment. There's also a moment where you should be vulnerable when you start again from zero. And you own it, claim it, that you don't know things. I learned to ask things without fear that I would be perceived as stupid in classes. I think this fear unconsciously came from my awareness as a public figure, where I expected to be unflawed all the time. Well, it's actually nobody knows me there, so it was an unnecessary pressure. Slowly, There's a feeling of rebirth when you don't have to be perfect all the time. And a realization that we are all beginners at some point. For almost 25 years, everyone saw me as the gifted actress. But in Amsterdam, something changed. Away from the spotlight, away from expectations, I found freedom in anonymity. It sounds counterintuitive, but becoming invisible helped me see myself clearly. I realized I didn't have to be exceptional at everything. In fact, there's a beautiful liberation in being terrible at something new, because that's how we learn, how we grow, how we keep evolving. I realized something paradoxical. While I've mastered the craft of acting, I still have so much learn to learn about the art itself and other things. And now, as I create TEDxUniversitasIndonesia, maybe somebody here knows this, a media platform for girls that embraces the unknown and celebrates the learning process, I'm also developing it without extensive knowledge of media building. So it's like a meta project. Kayak, saya bingung membangun cewek bingung. Through these experiences, I've come to understand that throughout my life, I will always be and should always be a beginner in some way. When my year abroad was ending, life presented me with a choice: stay for my master's graduation or return to Jakarta for a new film project. A project that has been waiting for so long, and finally the opportunity came to me. I was moved to discover that the industry hadn't forgotten me. They were actually waiting. While missing graduation felt bittersweet, I understand that the real achievement wasn't in the ceremony. The real victory was in every moment of struggle, growth, and discovery along the way. In today's world of carefully curated social media, we're expected to make everything look effortless, as if expertise comes without stumbles, without tears, without failures. I used to believe in this illusion too, until I read this piece of writing from Rick Rubin in his book, The Creative Act, one of my favorite books. He stated that each piece of our work can never be a total reflection of us, only a reflection of who we are in this moment. So it's okay if you don't understand everything now. Recently, when I decided to recruit some creators for Cherubim Wool, I broke down crying, paralyzed by the fear of not being good enough as leaders. That's when my husband said something that changed my perspective. You know what? You're an actress. Of course, you're not competent in the media industry and managing people yet. The yet is where the magic happens. Because here's what I've learned. Our incompetence isn't something to hide. It's our invitation to grow. Every time we dare to be visibly, vulnerably incompetent, we're not just learning something new. We're giving other permission to do the same. So today, I stand before you not just an actress, but as a proud beginner in many things. And I invite you to join me. What expertise are you hiding behind? What new beginning are you afraid to enhance? Because maybe, just maybe, the most liberating words we can say are not, I'm an expert, but I'm learning.